age, better get right to it. So that's what we'll do. Here's what's just ahead on your wake-up call for this Thursday. The mask rules for when the state fully reopens next week have been clarified. LA County Sheriff Villanueva says, I am not going anywhere, even though a lot of county officials would like him to. And a Marine general has been removed from his position over a training accident that killed 9 servicemen near San Clemente Island last summer. 5:05, we'll talk with ABC's Karen Travers, find out how day one of the president's trip to Europe has gone so far, get a little more insight into the meeting, though, that everyone is focused on during this trip, and that's the one between President Biden and President Putin of Russia next week. We'll have more with Karen in just a few minutes. But like I said, let's get right to all these stories coming out of the KFI 24-hour newsroom. Public health officials in California have better defined the rules on masking up once the state reopens.
The new guidance allows vaccinated people to go mask-free in most places starting June 15th. State Health and Human Services Secretary Dr. Mark Alley says businesses and venues will set their own policies.
Business operator or venue operator could implement a vaccine verification system.
Alley says the operators could also just let people declare themselves vaccinated.
And the third option is to require all patrons to wear a mask.
Galley says businesses won't be forced to check vaccination status, but he says unvaccinated people will be required to keep masks on indoors. Chris Ancarlo, KFI News.
All right, so that's where small businesses said, all right, hold on. They asked the state to offer up a little more clarity before fully reopening next week. National Federation Independent Business California Director John Kabadik says the back and forth on workplace masking rules has confused a lot of business owners and employees, for the record.
You can't expect the corner bookstore, restaurant owner, or auto shop owner to have to understand layers of state, federal, and local rules. It's impossible when they're trying to crawl out of this hole.
Last night, CalOSHA's board rescinded its new mask rule from last week, but that means the agency reverts to rules from November, which are even more strict. The board is expected to propose new rules that align with the state's guidance next week. Say here, for instance, my office is down the hall from the newsroom. The building that I work in says if you're in a hall or a common place or the restroom, you're supposed to wear a mask. iHeartMedia sent out an email, I don't know, a week or two ago, I guess, that said if you are in an office space with people who are fully vaccinated, you don't have to wear your mask unless you're in a state that requires it. Okay, well, that's California. But then starting next Tuesday, I guess if I'm in the newsroom where I think the majority of people are vaccinated, if not everybody, then I have to put it on in the hallway until the building says I can't. It's a mess. It's a mess. The White House has announced the U.S. will donate 500 million Pfizer vaccine doses to developing countries. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the U.S. is in a position to contribute to the global vaccination effort.
This is a huge announcement today, a huge down payment in getting the COVID pandemic under control.
Psaki says the Biden administration wants to do more to increase vaccine manufacturing in the U.S. I still want to know what happens with all those Johnson & Johnson vaccines that are on the shelves. Those that we talked with Aaron Katursky about yesterday, that are expiring. I mean, I think it's great that 500 million Pfizer doses are going, but we have J&J vaccines that are sitting on the shelves, rotting, essentially. Can't we figure out something to do with those? A man wanted for murder and kidnapping in North Hollywood has been captured by cops in Hemet. Officers say Tuesday night they pulled over a truck driven by Shane Remitt. Raymond's ex-girlfriend, Jenny Downs, was found inside the truck. They say she was battered and bruised. The LAPD says on Sunday, Raymond shot and killed a man who was trying to break up a fight between Raymond and Downs. Raymond was booked on $3 million bail. Some of LA County's Democrats have voted to demand the resignation of Sheriff Villanueva.
A statement from the party's Central Committee says the sheriff has failed in his obligation of proper leadership and has allowed problems in the department to continue. The sheriff said yesterday he has no plans of quitting, and the vote comes from a small group of elitists within the party.
In fact, I think you should be concerned about what you're doing or not doing to resolve the homeless situation, the huge spike in violent crime, and the illegal cannabis growth and distribution.
Villanueva says ultimately the voters will decide. Steve Gregory, Kfi News.
When we come back, we'll talk with ABC's Karen Travers, who is traveling with the president in Europe, about day one of his trip and what is behind the scenes. I want to know what really is going to come of this meeting between President Biden and Russian President Putin next week. We'll talk with Karen about that. You know what I mean. Robin Banks, hi. Take it away. What's up on the 5?
Good morning, Dale. Let's go to Anaheim on the 5 north at Lincoln. It's a wreck that did make it over to the right shoulder. Still have lots of flashing lights, though. CHP is on scene here. So your trip is going to be delayed right around Disneyland Drive. In Long Beach, 405 south at Atlantic, wreck with an overturned vehicle on the off-ramp with a tow truck on scene. So you won't be able to exit Atlantic at least for the next few minutes. Long Beach, 710 south at Delamo Boulevard. Car went down the right shoulder embankment. You'll see activity there on the right shoulder. Mid-City, Los Angeles on the 10 west at Crenshaw. Somebody broke down here. Left lane of the off-ramp is blocked, so a slow exit for you. And Corona stalled car on the 91 eastbound at Lincoln. It's in the center divider of the fast track lane. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Robin Banks.
5:06 on your wake-up call. Let's take you to Europe. ABC's Karen Travers, one of the few members of the media traveling with the president. Karen, good morning.
Hey, good morning from Cornwall, England.
Where the G7 summit is happening, and what's been the first day, the first 24 hours of the president's trip to Europe been like?
You know, the only thing we've seen from the president so far, he gave remarks yesterday at an Air Force base in the southwest part of England, Mildenhall it's called. And this is a chance for the president to tee up the message that he is going to bring to the G7 summit, which officially doesn't get underway until tomorrow. You know, the president, of course, spent 36 years in the Senate and 8 years as vice president. So he's really been around the world representing American foreign policy. But now he's sitting down for the first time with these world leaders as their equal. And the message that he is going to bring, as he said yesterday, is America is back, that democracies of the world are standing together. He is going to say that America, under his leadership, is once again a global leader. And he's trying to reaffirm relationships with key allies. You get the chance to start that today with a sit-down with the British Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. We'll have a meeting coming up in a couple of hours. And then after that, the president's going to deliver remarks on this big announcement from the administration on vaccine doses. It said overnight that the United States is going to donate 500 million doses of Pfizer's COVID vaccine to the global immunization campaign.
What about, I think everybody wants to know what's going on next week with the meeting with President Biden and Russian President Putin.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about this, I think, between now and Wednesday quite a bit. But I think it's notable that the White House continues to really downplay the expectations for what is going to come out of this meeting. That there won't likely be any major breakthrough. There isn't going to be a concrete agreement between President Biden and President Putin. But they say that's okay, that the president wanted this chance to have a face-to-face conversation, to sit down and be able to, in person, put pressure on Putin on things like cyber attacks, Russia's human rights violations, and other issues between the two countries. And, you know, there have been a lot of questions about whether this is a reward for Putin, just by having this meeting. The White House continues to dismiss that, saying they're meeting because of the differences, not in spite of them.
Who called the meeting? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, the president had said that after he had a phone call with him, that he raised the idea of having an in-person conversation. So this has been in the works for some time. Of course, the president knew he was coming here to the UK for the G7 summit. He's going on to the NATO summit right after this. These are usually scheduled around the same time, so world leaders can just hop back and forth. So I think it's also very clear this is by design. Sit down with allies at the G7, sit down with allies at NATO, then meet with Putin. So he's going to be hearing it from world leaders, you know, what they would like him to raise at this meeting next week. Of course, he'll be coming in with his own very full agenda.
Absolutely. All right, Karen, thank you so much. Travel safely.
Have a great day. Thanks.
See you later. ABC's Karen Travers. Now, there are CEO and investors who say they want world leaders at this week's G7 summit in England to be more proactive when it comes to climate change. The Alliance of CEO Climate Leaders has written to them, stressing that bold action is needed to meet future emission targets. The CEOs also say their own businesses need to set credible targets to reduce their carbon footprint. So, on one hand, they're saying, hey, we want you leaders to do something more, but sounds like they're willing to go along with it. Well, 4 police officers from Glendale have been put on administrative leave in connection with the rough arrest of a teenager who was accused of shoplifting at the Glendale Galleria. A cell phone video of the arrest shows 3 plainclothes officers and 1 in uniform hitting the 17-year-old in the head and kicking him in the face. The officers were responding to a call Saturday night about an alleged theft at a sporting goods store. A Marine general has been removed from his position over a training accident that killed 9 servicemen near San Clemente Island last summer. Military officials say the general didn't properly prepare the servicemen for the training, and the deaths were preventable. 8 Marines and a sailor who were killed when a 52,000-pound amphibious assault vehicle, sank off the coast. Well, a smoke advisory has been issued for parts of Riverside County because of a fire burning near Camp Pendleton. A brush fire started at the Marine base in San Diego County yesterday afternoon. It's burned about 1,000 acres. Smoke from the fire is expected to drift across the Santa Ana Mountains into places like Temecula, Murrieta, and Hemet. California Democratic Congressman Brad Sherman is just one of the 12 House Democrats who have criticized Congresswoman Ilhan Omar for a tweet referring to unthinkable atrocities committed by the U.S., Hamas, Israel, Afghanistan, and the Taliban. In a statement issued last night, they say equating the U.S. and Israel to Hamas and the Taliban is as offensive as it is misguided. I often wonder, and this is rhetorical in many ways, when these lawmakers tweet this stuff out, is this what they really believe? If it is what they really believe, should we be alarmed? Are they tweeting this out because they just want some publicity? And we haven't heard a lot about Ilhan Omar lately? So did they just try and throw some zingers out there? Like I said, rhetorical on many counts. Well, meat supplier JBS now says it paid a multi-million-dollar ransom to the hackers who penetrated its system before Memorial Day. ABC's Aaron Katursky says JBS calls it a difficult decision, but one it had to make.
JBS said no data was compromised and plants were back in operation by the time the $11 million ransom was paid. The payment was made in bitcoins, the same cryptocurrency paid by Colonial Pipeline, and in that case, recovered by the FBI.
The FBI says the hackers in both cases are based in Russia. The first female helicopter fire pilot of the OC Fire Authority says she was discriminated against despite having more experience than her male counterparts.
I want my job back. Let me fly.
Desiree Horton says when she left CAL FIRE for the OCFA, she'd flown for 30 years, half of that fighting fires. But she says women clearly weren't wanted at the OCFA.
I didn't care about being the first woman in anything. That wasn't on my radar. I cared about protecting life and land across the state.
She says she wants the OCFA she goes back to be a changed department.
One in which women and underrepresented groups are given the fair shake we deserve.
The OC Fire Authority says it can't comment on pending litigation. In Orange County, Corbin Carson, KFI News.
A dozen people have been arrested in Riverside County for their part in a meth ring. The FBI's Christy Johnson says 19 people have been indicted by a federal grand jury.
All 19 are charged with one count of conspiracy to possess with intent to distribute methamphetamine. This carries a mandatory minimum 10-year prison sentence and statutory maximum penalty of life imprisonment.
2 others have been charged as the ringleaders in the scheme that smuggled drugs into the country and sent profits to the Mexican mafia. Johnson says 150 pounds of meth and $30,000 were seized during the investigation. Investigators are still looking for 4 people. Felony charges are expected to be filed against a third man accused of holding a guy against his will and beating him with a paddle for days in Cathedral City. The Riverside County DA says the man was arrested on suspicion of kidnapping, torture, false imprisonment, and assault with a deadly weapon. Cathedral City Police say they arrested 2 other men on the day they got the 911 call from the guy who said he'd been beaten up, zip-tied, and held against his will. And researchers with NASA JPL say ozone pollution has dropped significantly during the pandemic. In February of last year, pollution in China dropped 50%. By the end of March, pollution in the U.S. dropped 25%. A report shows sudden lockdowns and stay-at-home orders were the biggest contributing factors in reducing vehicle traffic and the operation of industrial plants. And for all of you who are driving this morning, you would probably agree with me when you say, I bet if we took this same sample of air right now to see whether or not the pollution was back up, it's back up. Looking at all those people in the cars on the road. All right, hey, Dodgers versus the Pirates again. Your world champion Dodgers take on the Pirates in Pittsburgh this morning at 9:35. You can hear every play in HD On the free iHeartRadio app, search AM 570 LA Sports, brought to you by Nutrisystem. Go to Nutrisystem.com/baseball and lose weight fast, all with free delivery. When we come back, we'll talk with ABC's Tom Rivers. Hey, remember that time that you heard Olympic athletes and members of the media were going to be tracked by GPS when they were in Tokyo? And you thought to yourself, why? I did the same thing. And we'll ask that question of Tom in just a few minutes. Right now, let's find out what's up with your hazard on the 101.
Well, looking at Hollywood, on the 101 north of Vermont, it's some kind of flooring material is what it's described as. 2 right lanes are blocked here. We're going to run a traffic break to get that out of the way. Meantime, it is creating some delay for your drive from Rampart. In Commerce, on the 5 south at Garfield, conked out car left lane is going to be blocked, so a little slowing here right at the scene. In Downey, on the 5 northbound at Lakewood Boulevard, stalled car on the off-ramp, maybe slow to exit. In Anaheim, 91 westbound at the 55 freeway, direct is being worked on the right shoulder, so expect a little bit of looky-loo slowing. And Elysian Park, it's a full closure on the 110 northbound between Hill Street and 5 southbound. All those lanes are closed until 6 a.m. You're starting to see a little bit of traffic stacking up there at Sunset Boulevard. KFI in the Sky helps get you there faster. I'm Robin Banks.
This report is sponsored by Whole Foods Market. Mix up your routine with plant-based alternatives at Whole Foods Market. Get 25% off select Kite Hill plant-based products through June 15th, plus an extra 10% off for Prime members while supplies last. Learn more on the Whole Foods Market app.
This is Chris Collinsworth. Here's what's trending on the iHeart Sports Network, presented by DraftKings.
The Islanders are going to the Stanley Cup semifinals. New York eliminated Boston to set a date with the reigning champs in Tampa Bay. LeBron James is changing his number back to 6. The King wore 6 in Miami because the Heat retired number 23 in honor of Michael Jordan. And Tony Gonsolin couldn't make it out of the second inning as the Dodgers starter struggled in his first start of the season. LA held off the Pirates. I'm Misty Jordan.
Download the DraftKings app and use code SPORTS to get a free shot at millions of dollars up for grabs this week with your first deposit.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Oh, hearing about that flooring on the roadway made me think of how much money putting new carpeting or new vinyl plank or whatever you're putting in your house actually costs. A lot of homeowners are saying, I'd love to do those repairs, but I need a home loan to do it. Well, maybe you think to yourself, I don't qualify for these great rates I'm hearing, or maybe my credit score is too low. I bet you haven't called the awesome people at IntelliLoan, because right now IntelliLoan has a 1.99% rate in APR with no points or lender fees for SoCal residents, and this is even if your credit score is as low as 620. It's a 1.99% rate in APR with no points or no lender fees. So see, all of you who thought you couldn't qualify, that's why you need to call IntelliLoan. And when you do, ask for Daryl, the owner of IntelliLoan. He's got a team of home loan specialists that can hold your hand through this whole process. And he says he has specially trained them to make sure this home loan thing does not suck. Those are his words. So call IntelliLoan and ask for a 1.99% rate in APR with no points and no lender fees. Call them at 1-800-918-6200. That's 1-800-918-6200. Or just go to IntelliLoan.com.
Rates subject to change without notice. Minimum loan amount requirements apply. 60% loan to value and 620 FICO credit score. Certain restrictions apply. Subject to credit approval. NMLS 3290. Loans made or arranged pursuant to a California Finance Lenders Law license number 6036970. Equal housing lender. IntelliLoan. Borrow smart.
Hey California, did you hear about the big vaccine incentives program? You Call the Shot California gets $50 incentive cards for things like groceries or shopping at your favorite small business to the next 2 million Californians who begin and complete their vaccination against COVID-19. Make that vaccine appointment today at myturn.ca.gov or call 833-422-4255. Get vaxxed for the win, people. It's a win-win for you and California. Vaccinated Californians ages 12 and up are eligible. Visit covid19.ca.gov to learn more.
If you're like me, you can't wait to travel, but a lot of destinations want a negative COVID-19 test. That's where COVID Clinic comes in. COVID Clinic has 1-hour COVID-19 PCR tests to travel to almost anywhere in the world. They'll even help with your travel documentation. Make your trip prep easy by doing your COVID-19 testing at one of the many fast and even drive-through COVID Clinic locations near you. So whether you need a COVID-19 PCR test for travel, school, or you just want an antigen test, go to covidclinic.org. Restrictions apply. Go to covidclinic.org.
Summer is here, and we're all venturing out more, enjoying the outdoors, long holiday weekends, and taking vacations.
So let radio advertising put your business top of mind with customers who are on the move. Get your business on the air now with iHeartAdBuilder.com, the self-service solution for creating and running radio ads. Just click, listen, approve, then hear your ad on the radio. AdBuilder is the fast and cost-effective way to connect with customers wherever they're enjoying the summer. Sign up now at iHeartAdBuilder.com.
When it comes to the ins and outs of business security, Bay Alarm brings the best, like access control systems to protect your people and your property. Because if your security is not the best, you're not secure. Now, more than ever, Bay Alarm. ACO 28CCL 880138.
Don't spend more than you have to on your mobile service. Spectrum Mobile could save you up to 40% versus what you're paying now, and nationwide 5G is included in every data plan. Plus, Spectrum delivers the fastest overall speeds and has the most reliable mobile service, coast to coast, with no hidden taxes, fees, or contracts. Visit SpectrumMobile.com today. 40% savings based on a comparison of single and comparable unlimited plans amongst major national carriers as of 1/27/2021. Fastest overall speed, most reliable, based on Nielsen speed test, latest FCC report, and route metrics.
Have you ever wanted to learn a new language like French, Spanish, or Russian, but thought it would be too difficult and time-consuming? Then go to Babbel.com and try it for free. Babbel works because it's built around real life. It teaches you everyday practical conversations that you will actually use. In 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. Babbel uses a modern conversation-based technique that makes language engaging, fun, and memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then, sentences gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. Babbel was created by language experts who use the spaced repetition method to help you learn quickly and remember what you learned. With Babbel, you can speak a new language. Babbel. Language for life. Celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Has Garcetti gotten on the plane to India yet?
Wouldn't want his limousine to be stuck in traffic.
Many people in the KFI audience would gladly give Garcetti a ride to the airport.
The worst mayor in LA history.
And that includes Antonio Villaraigosa.
Oh, come on.
John and Ken.
Weekdays at 2.
The hell are you people doing? Who are you voting for?
On KFI.
KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Welcome to a Thursday. I'm Jennifer Jones-Lee, and some of the stories we're watching in the KFI 24-hour newsroom. The mask rules for when the state fully reopens next week have been clarified. State Health and Human Services Secretary Dr. Mark Galley says unvaccinated people will still be required to mask up indoors, but it'll be largely on the honor system. How many people who aren't vaccinated do you think are going to be cruising around with masks? How many? Vaccinated people will be able to ditch their masks on June 15th everywhere, except for on public transportation, in healthcare settings, indoors at schools, in jails and prisons, and at homeless and emergency shelters. In other words, keep one in your car. And LA County Sheriff Villanueva says he's not about to leave. The LA County Democratic Party Central Committee had voted to demand the resignation of Villanueva for what it calls a failure to lead. Villanueva says Tuesday night's vote came from a small group of elitists who live on the west side. The sheriff says he has the support of the people who want a sheriff to take action, not become a pawn of the politicians. Right now, let's say good morning to ABC's Tom Rivers. Hey, Tom, did you hear that one about how Olympic athletes and members of the media might be tracked by GPS when they're in Tokyo in a few weeks?
I know. You had thought, you heard that a year ago. You said it's a joke, right?
Totally.
No. Welcome to the brave new world, huh? You know, it's sort of like, my dog has a chip, so, I guess a logic, but let's chip journalists too. Unbelievable. There's going to be like 22,000 broadcast journalists and wire reporters and print journalists going to Tokyo. Those are the ones, that's the number that's been accredited. For the first 14 days of the games, they're going to be tracked via GPS. They got to watch their P's and Q's, stick close to the venues and the Olympic Village. If they stray, they get a day off, they want to go shopping in Tokyo, guess what? They can get their credentials yanked. A very, very bad precedent indeed.
Okay, so then I started thinking about this when you talk about the going shopping or whatever the case may be. I remember remember back in my days of reporting, there are times that a cord breaks, or you need batteries, or whatever it happens to be, that just part of your equipment goes haywire. How in the world are they supposed to get stuff like that if they are... By the way, and how's this GPS working? I understand they're not going to actually inject them with a chip, but how does this work?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's going to be on your smartphone, I guess, and it's going to track you and make sure that it's sort of like contact tracing that they played with certainly here in the UK, not with much success last year. But if you're in a certain location on, say, a Wednesday, covering an event, and somebody tests positive from that area, I guess you get a note to say, hey, Jennifer, go get checked out, have another test. So that's supposedly how it's going to work. But again, if you have to go through all of these extra hoops just to cover the games, I think it's almost like a hoop too many for many. And again, it's sad. It could present a precedent. And they say, oh, we tried it on once and they rolled with it. I guess we can do this the next games too.
I mean, I guess for most athletes, they're probably thinking to themselves, they have worked so hard. They've worked for their entire lives to get to where they are, to go to these games. And I can understand how a lot of them are saying to themselves, whatever hoops we have to jump through, we're willing to do that. At the same time, this is pretty strict on people who are, especially when you're going to a country where you're not used to being sort of GPS-tailed by a government. To do this now, it's got to be just pretty alarming, I guess you could say, to a lot of the athletes.
Well, part and parcel, the Olympics are about friendship and meeting people from different parts of the world and exchanging, emails and becoming friends and exchanging badges. And all of that aspect is kind of thrown out the window. And you are there to cover this TV event only. Have fun. End of month.
Yeah, it sounds like a blast. Tracking my butt all over the place. Thanks, Tom. I appreciate it.
Take care.
See you later. ABC's Tom Rivers. I don't know. Now, here's the thing. If I'm going back to my reporting days, so I'm in my mid-20s. Pretty much, you told me to do anything in my mid-20s, so am I kidding? I was like, yeah, whatever. Where do you want me to go? Oh, sure, 9/11 just happened, and you want to put me on a bus and send me across the country because you can't fly me there because of national security risks? Sure, put me on a Greyhound. Oh, I'm sorry, what? You want me to ride a bull? Because you think I'm from Reading. You probably rode bulls. Go ride a bull. All right, that sounds like fun. I did, by the way, ride the bull and broke my arm. So if they'd said, hey, you want to cover the Olympics? They'll track you while you're there. I probably would have said yes. Now that I'm older, I'd probably think to myself, no, that's just, like Tom said, one more freaking hoop to jump through. But it's still a chance to cover the Olympics, which is huge. And like I said, for those athletes, they've worked their whole lives for this. And so they have gone through so much just to get the games to even happen this time around. And all the vaccinations and the tests and all of that they're going to have to go through. Probably GPS on their phone, that is the least of their worries. But still, just kind of something to consider. And speaking of vaccinations, did you hear about this Las Vegas man who was working at the Pomona Fairplex COVID-19 Vaccine Supercenter? This guy has been charged with stealing hundreds of blank vaccine cards. It was at the end of April when cops in Laverne were told that the blank vaccine cards had been stolen from the Pomona Fairplex site. And detectives found that they call him a non-clinical contract worker, who's identified as 45-year-old Mohammed Roth Ahmed, had stolen the cards and put them in his car. So cops in Laverne raided Ahmed's hotel room and found 528 blank vaccine cards. Guessing he just grabbed a handful here, a handful there. He's been charged by the LA County DA with grand theft. And I remember how we talked about this early on, about how this was going to be a thing. And if you think about it, if starting next week, starting on June 15th, in large part, we're going to be able to ditch our masks pretty much anywhere we go. And the health officials say to you, hey, This is on the honor system, though. How many people who have not gotten vaccinated are going to go, oh, yeah, I totally got the vaccine, just so they don't have to wear a mask, just so they can enter places? And those of us who did get the vaccine, in many ways, banked on that, which is why we got the vaccine, because we said we want to go back to some sort of normalcy. But when we do, we want to do what we feel protects us, and so we got the vaccine. But these cards, should we be asked to show them more and more, these cards are going to go like hotcakes. And people are going to get quite a bit of money for them if they have them. So I'm sure this guy thought, if he did it, of course, allegedly, if he did it, he probably thought he could make some money off of it, and I bet he could. All right, we come back. Speaking of pandemic, CNBC's Jane Wells is going to join us from the World Pork Expo. I know. No, Jane is not covering the Olympics. She got the World Pork Expo. In a way, though, I think that might be more fun. If you think about it, I thought, okay, they have the Rib Expo in Reno every year. Jane's going to the Pork Expo. I mean, I'm sure it's to discuss the pork industry, but, if you're a pork lover, I got to assume that there's some good food there. I know it's a little bit mercurial to think that way. At the same time, come on now, it's the World Pork Expo. So we'll talk about what the pandemic has done to the industry and how it's coming out of it, and also what it looks like for a huge industry like that post-pandemic, because I'm sure things have changed. Right now, let's take a look at your trouble spot on the 5.
In Commerce, on the 5 southbound at Slauson, it's a conked out car. It's blocking the left lane. Haven't gotten it out of there yet, so your drive's starting to slow down right around Garfield. Anaheim on the 91 West at the 55 freeway. Moved direct from the right lane over to the right shoulder. Some leftover slowing there from Yorba Linda Boulevard. In Long Beach on the 710 southbound before Delano Boulevard. That's the scene of an overturned car down the right shoulder embankment. CHP on scene. Tow truck there as well. You can expect some congestion from about Long Beach Boulevard. And Downey on the 5 northbound at Lakewood Boulevard. It's just a stalled vehicle, but it is on the off-ramp. So that off-ramp block for now. KFI in the sky helps get you there faster. I'm Robin Banks.
In 1975, my family lived under the boot of communist Russia. Hello, I'm John Akoyan, owner of Rooter Hero Plumbing. Communism was so oppressive that my dad, who didn't speak a word of English, left everything behind and immigrated us to America. I was only 3 years old. I can't imagine the courage it took to do that. My father put us first, and at Rooter Hero Plumbing, we put you first. That's why we always offer you an affordable solution. If you have a clogged drain, call us at 866-DRAIN-77, and we'll cable your line for only $77. That's 866-DRAIN-77. Thank you for trusting Rooter Hero Plumbing with your most valuable asset, your home. I miss my dad, but his sacrifice will never be forgotten. Happy Father's Day.
CL 1028886.
SoCal weather from KFI. Sunny today, but our warming trend begins tomorrow. So today highs will be in the low 80s, upper 80s for tomorrow, 90s for the weekend, and we should hit 100 by Tuesday. We lead local, live from the KFI 24-hour newsroom. I'm Jennifer Jones-Lee.
Rick Edelman, award-winning radio host and founder of Edelman Financial Engines, takes questions on his radio show. Let's hear his advice on annuities.
Hey Rick, I'm looking for a good investment. Should I consider a fixed annuity?
Well, fixed annuities aren't really investments, they're insurance products. You'll get a fixed rate of return from them, but it might not be enough to offset taxes and inflation. Most annuity contracts require you to keep the money there for 5 to 10 years, and if you're under age 59 and a half, any withdrawals are subject to a 10% IRS penalty. You should talk, therefore, to a fee-based financial advisor to see if an annuity is right for you, not someone who makes a living earning commissions selling annuities. You want a fiduciary who puts your best interests first.
If you're looking for a trusted partner who's got your back, talk to one of our experienced financial planners by calling 888-PLAN-RICK or visit rickedelman.com. After over over 40 years helping to clean wildlife, Dawn knows a helping hand can come from unexpected places. Dawn is proud to partner with iHeartRadio in supporting Can't Cancel Pride and Equality for the LGBTQ+ community. Learn more at can'tcancelpride.com.
Real estate is one of the most tax-efficient investments and a great way to diversify your portfolio. But the hassles and costs of managing properties is about as much fun as having a root canal. Hi, Greg Hughes here with Hughes Private Capital, a real estate investment company. We pay our investors a set monthly income which is backed by the strength and safety of our portfolio of over 1,000 homes in the most stable real estate markets in the U.S. And the best part? You won't have any landlord frustrations or expenses. And talk about tax-efficient investment. Most of our investors don't pay taxes for the first 9 years of their investment with us. We also offer a 1031 exchange option where you can sell your investment property tax-free and become an investor with Hughes Private Capital. And with today's interest rates being so low, now's the best time to leverage your investment and earn a 17% return. To find out more, go to nolandlordproblems.com. That's nolandlordproblems.com. Or call us at 888-300-9393. That's 888-300-9393.
American Vision Windows, SoCal's choice for energy-efficient windows and doors. AmericanVisionWindows.com.
Live,
KFI,
local,
AM 640.
and iHeart radio station.
Know what I'll be making? Anything and everything as long as it's bacon.
KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeart Radio app. Welcome to your Thursday morning. I'm Jennifer Jones-Lee. We kind of have clarification, I guess you could say, on the wearing of masks. So starting June 15th, next Tuesday, Dr. Mark Yali, the State Health and Human Services Secretary, says unvaccinated people will still be required to mask up indoors, but it will largely be on the honor system. Vaccinated people, however, will be able to ditch the masks on June 15th everywhere except for on public transportation, if you're in a doctor's office, indoors at schools, in jails and prisons, and at a homeless shelter and emergency center. All right, let's take you now to a little farm that smells like sweet, sweet pork this morning. CNBC's Jane Wells joins us live from Iowa and the World Pork Expo. Hi, Jane. Good morning. How'd you get that prime assignment?
I have covered this many times before, I am proud to say. It's always a good place to talk to farmers and find out what's going on. Sweet is not the smell, way I would describe the smell. And by the way, it's back to 2019 in Iowa. No mask if you're vaccinated, which means nobody's wearing a mask, except some of the baristas and, staff.
You know, sometimes that's a good thing and a bad thing because if you did have to wear a mask, and anybody who's worn a mask and been in any sort of farm-like setting knows that I swear whatever that farm smell is gets into your mask and it just sits there and permeates.
And it followed your suitcase back on the airplane home. But, very good. Actually, records of where the expo is, and the inflation numbers just came out at the bottom of the hour. Inflation for May is up 12% from a year ago. That is the fastest pace